All right, gang. This will be a video addressing the Nanocon 2025 controversy and cover-up of Elliot Martin, known as Secular Rarity, sexually assaulting and throwing down the stairs Nancy from the Apostate Sisters. This is the process I used to basically compartmentalize the events and the information and different aspects to come up with my stance and my position on this whole thing. First, you have Elliot Martin and Nancy from the Apostate Sisters. They got drunk at the Nanocon. They were flirting. They were having what seemed to be a good time up until the point of when Elliot and Nancy stepped out into a stairwell, and events took place that ended with Elliot Martin choking Nancy and exposing himself to her, exposing her, and then throwing her down the stairs. Possibly not in that order. I may be getting the order wrong. But Elliot choked Nancy, sexually assaulted her, and threw her down the stairs. That is the key elements of the situation. After those events took place and the community / others started to realize what happened, you had whistleblowers like Sumami, Kyle, Jay, and PC, and later on myself. My position from the beginning of this was to stand by Nancy, the victim, and believe what the victim says, and let Elliot possibly come out and speak for himself. If it was me and somebody was accusing me of something I didn't do, you couldn't keep my face off of streams screaming about it, that I was being falsely accused. Elliot Martin has sat quietly and not acknowledged this event even happened. So I believe that speaks volumes. But the way I have chose to do my process was to try to separate all of these things from each other. So take the assault in the stairwell with Nancy and Elliot, put that in a box. Then you have the whistleblowers and people's reactions to the whistleblowers' reactions, such as Jay from Pocket Locker 86 and Sumami had a very passionate response to this whole thing, and they did a stream and there was cussing and whatever the fuck, and people, instead of paying attention to the box with Nancy and Elliot and the sexual assault and the throwing down the stairs and everything, they chose to start paying attention to Jay and Sue and start tone policing them instead of worrying about the assault that happened and the ensuing cover-up after the assault. After the whistleblower started blowing the whistle, the cover-up community started making sure that people like Pragmatic Crystal started getting her wrenches pulled from all the different streams and different creators. And if you know PC, you know she is probably the top of the line moderator on YouTube. And she doesn't ask for money for what she does, and she is an excellent moderator. Well, people just started pulling her wrench because the cover-up crew, AJ, Elliot, Maya, Seth from fucking Ambushed Apostate, they all started running interference for Elliot. And they started basically speaking for him. Elliot didn't have to do shit. He can just sit in his little bubble of privilege and not have to answer for his crimes. Now, these people will tell you that, oh, well, the camera footage, the police saw the camera footage and they exonerated this whole thing, and it's all, this is all just a big misunderstanding, a nothing burger or whatever the fuck. There was no cameras in the stairwell where it took place. So that camera footage doesn't have shit on it from the actual assault. If it did, this would have been taken care of. So from AJ and Maya and Seth and Elliot, you either get silence or hand waving and distractions and insults and all this shit and tone policing. They start losing their minds saying, oh, they were threatening violence and all this shit. No, they fucking weren't. You guys are being a bunch of fucking titty baby fucking pussies. So fuck off with all that shit. What happens when too many boxes get opened up, right? Too many boxes get opened up and confusion and emotion and anger and all this stuff starts happening, right? Because all these boxes you can't intermingle them without that stuff happening. At least that's the way I see it. So what we need to do is focus on the one important box. Anybody want to guess what the fuck that one is? It's Elliot Martin sexually assaulted Nancy, choked her, and threw her down the fucking stairs. Like they have admitted in chat that, oh, there was a problem. There was a problem with secularity. There was a problem with Elliot. But they were trying to figure out basically how to hush, quiet and deal with it internally. That's the exact shit we can complain about the cops for doing. Cops will shoot a motherfucker and then internally investigate it and find themselves innocent of all charges. Let's close all the boxes except the one with the Nancy and Elliot sexual assault in it. Let's leave that box open. Let's leave that box open until Elliot decides to get out of his little bubble of privilege and address the charges levied at him. Why is he being a coward? Why is he being a chicken shit and hiding behind his little crew of narcissist protecting flying monkeys? Why is he doing that? So let's leave that box open and let's come to the realization that most of these other boxes don't fucking matter. The ones that matter are the assault from Elliot Martin on Nancy and their little cover-up of the events. Then you have whistleblowers that got all the anger directed at them. They don't like the black man that has the opinionated views of the situation. And they want to tone police him, and they want to tone police the women of color that are blowing the whistle and making their voices heard, and you have nothing being done about it. And in fact, whenever it happened, right after it happened, these fuckers that are covering it up and knew what happened and knew that Elliot was fucked up from the fucking start, they start platforming him and acting like nothing ever fucking happened and victim blaming and smear campaigning the victim. Fuck those motherfuckers.